Do you recognize this pattern? You delay important tasks despite knowing the consequences will worsen your situation. That project deadline approaches while you convince yourself tomorrow will be different. Perhaps it's a life change you've been contemplating, always finding reasons to postpone action. You promise yourself you'll begin later, that motivation will eventually arrive, that the perfect timing will present itself. Yet that ideal moment remains elusive. Want to know the truth? Procrastination transcends simple organizational failures or willpower deficits. It stems from something far more profound, a manifestation of your relationship with fear, discomfort, and self-perception. Here's an uncomfortable reality many refuse to acknowledge. Each procrastination episode weakens your resolve. Every instance of choosing the simpler path, every delayed action, conditions your mind to flee from difficulty. You're essentially instructing yourself that your commitments lack reliability. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, you transform into someone governed by their own justifications. If procrastination proves so destructive, why do we persist? Why do we maintain this destructive pattern despite recognizing its harm? The explanation resides within your neural architecture. Procrastination isn't laziness, it's a deeply embedded psychological defense mechanism. Your nervous system actively works against your conscious intentions. Your greatest adversary exists within your own mind. Most disturbingly, contemporary society has transformed this vulnerability into a normalized lifestyle. Social platforms, constant notifications, brief entertainment clips, endless digital distractions, these systems deliberately capture your focus and strengthen your avoidance habits. You're battling not just internal resistance but an entire infrastructure profiting from your procrastination. Today, however, this pattern ends. We'll deconstruct procrastination to its fundamental components, exposing the truths you've avoided confronting. We'll examine fear, self-sabotage, internal mental conflicts, and most crucially, how to reclaim control over your actions. Ultimately, humanity divides into two categories, those who act and those who observe life passing by. Which will you choose? Most people misunderstand procrastination as simple laziness or insufficient discipline. They criticize themselves for lacking willpower, believing the issue stems from inadequate motivation. However, this represents a superficial diagnosis. Procrastination isn't the core problem, it's a symptom of deeper psychological dynamics. If laziness were the culprit, why can you spend hours consuming entertainment, browsing social media, or watching content continuously? If discipline were lacking, why do certain moments inspire intense productivity, particularly under pressure or approaching deadlines? The issue isn't your inability to act. The problem lies in what action symbolizes to your psyche. Procrastination functions as a protective mechanism. Your brain interprets tasks as uncomfortable experiences, whether due to failure anxiety, perfectionist tendencies, low self-worth, or simple difficulty. This triggers an internal alarm system. Like animals avoiding pain, your mind seeks escape routes. Suddenly, alternative activities seem irresistibly appealing. You decide to briefly check your phone, and an hour vanishes. You plan to grab coffee before starting, and the day concludes without progress. Time dissolves while your mind fabricates reasonable explanations for delay. Here's the cruelest aspect: each procrastination episode makes future avoidance easier. Your brain learns rapidly, recognizing that escaping uncomfortable tasks provides immediate relief, gradually converting this into automatic behavior. You train your mind to flee discomfort, creating a destructive cycle where avoidance makes tasks appear increasingly daunting. But there's another hidden element in procrastination that few recognize: identity preservation. When you postpone something, it's often not because the task is genuinely difficult, but because completion forces you to confront a new version of yourself. Consider this: finishing that project, beginning that study program, committing to that change eliminates excuses. You must prove your capabilities. If you fail, If you're inadequate, if you discover you're not who you believed yourself to be, this fear paralyzes. Many prefer procrastination's limbo because untempted failure remains theoretical possibility rather than concrete reality. Do you understand now? Procrastination isn't laziness, it's fear. Fear of mistakes, exposure, inadequacy, leaving comfort zones. Fear becomes an invisible prison, and this prison has an architect, an internal saboteur operating in shadows, dictating actions without conscious awareness. If procrastination feels beyond your control, there's a neurological explanation. Your brain sabotages itself through constant internal warfare between two competing systems, the limbic system and prefrontal cortex. This battle occurs continuously, and unfortunately, the wrong side typically wins. Let's examine these opposing forces. The limbic system represents your brain's most primitive region, governing emotions, impulses, and immediate reward seeking. This system evolved for species survival in hostile environments. Our ancestors needed rapid danger responses, immediate hunger satisfaction, and avoidance of uncomfortable situations threatening survival. It wasn't designed for long-term thinking. Conversely, the prefrontal cortex represents your brain's rational, evolved component. This region handles planning, goal setting, and future-based decision-making. While the limbic system craves comfort and instant pleasure, the prefrontal cortex seeks progress, discipline, and growth. Ever experienced that internal voice urging, "I need to start now," while another part whispers, "Just 5 more minutes"? That's precisely this mental conflict. The problem? The limbic system responds first. It's rapid, automatic, and emotionally driven. The prefrontal cortex operates slowly and requires conscious effort. Without awareness of this struggle, the limbic system consistently prevails. This explains why procrastination feels effortless. Your brain follows evolutionary programming, avoiding effort and discomfort while choosing short-term pleasure. Modernity has exacerbated this conflict. Consider how today's world functions as an amusement park for your limbic system. Social media, notifications, brief videos, digital entertainment, gaming, all activate instant pleasure circuits, releasing dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with reward and pleasure. Your brain evolved to seek dopamine whenever possible, as it historically correlated with survival achievements like food discovery or reproductive success. Today, dopamine is constantly available without effort. The result? Your brain becomes addicted to instant gratification, completely losing focus capacity for tasks requiring sustained effort. When you attempt difficult activities, studying, working, writing, exercising, the limbic system panics. It detects threats and immediately directs you toward more pleasurable, easier alternatives. What do? You reach for your phone, activate entertainment, do anything to escape discomfort. You don't realize it, but you're being controlled at that moment. Here's the brutal truth: if you don't control your mind, something else will. Whether it's the entertainment industry, addictive algorithms, or distraction culture, you become merely a passenger in your own existence. However, this doesn't mean permanent condemnation. The positive news? There's a path to regaining control. You can train your prefrontal cortex to become stronger and break procrastination cycles. To achieve this, we must understand the most dangerous enemy: fear of failure and self-sabotage. If you procrastinate, understand this immediately. The problem isn't the task you're avoiding. The problem lies in what that task represents to you. Examine everything you've procrastinated on: important work, personal projects, life-changing decisions. You weren't just postponing actions themselves, you were avoiding the consequences of those actions. You were escaping what might happen if you actually did what needed doing. This escape usually has a name: fear. Fear forms procrastination's root. Not obvious fears like heights or public speaking, but disguised, subtle fears operating behind mental scenes. Fear of failure, judgment, discovering you might not be as capable as you believed. Often procrastination occurs because taking action means testing yourself. Testing yourself means risking failure. While you're planning, thinking, postponing, you maintain the illusion that you could perform perfectly if desired. But the moment you begin, you expose yourself. What if results aren't adequate? What if you discover you're not as talented, intelligent, or capable as you hoped? This is the paralyzing fear, the fear that says, if you don't try, you can't fail. This introduces self-sabotage, the mechanism your brain uses to avoid emotional discomfort. It creates excuses, distractions, even destructive behaviors to prevent confronting what frightens you. Notice how when you have something important to do, suddenly thousands of urgent matters require attention. Suddenly your workspace needs perfect organization before starting. Suddenly you need additional research before taking action. Suddenly hunger strikes, requiring a snack before beginning. This isn't coincidental, it's your brain attempting to protect you from a self-created threat. The worst part: the more you sabotage yourself, the more you reinforce this programming. You begin believing you lack discipline, productivity, capability. Each procrastination episode strengthens that weak, insecure identity. Over time, procrastination stops being a behavior and becomes who you are. But what if this fear is illusory? What if the failure you dread means absolutely nothing? What if the real problem isn't a mistake but the time wasted fearing it? You don't need more motivation. You need to change how you perceive failure. Only when you stop fleeing from mistakes will you finally be able to act. If you think procrastination is purely personal, reconsider. Procrastination isn't just your habit, it's a product of your environment. We inhabit the age of distraction. Never in human history has avoiding minimally uncomfortable tasks been so easy. Today, you have an entire universe of stimuli available instantly, ready to hijack your attention the moment you consider productive activity. What once required effort and patience has been replaced by instant gratification. This didn't happen accidentally. You've been trained to procrastinate. Consider this: all major global companies, tech giants, and social media platforms share one clear objective: keeping your attention captive as long as possible. They profit from your distraction. Time spent on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or any platform isn't accidental, it's designed to be inescapable. Infinite feeds, constant notifications, algorithms delivering exactly what you want to see, all created to capture and maintain your focus. Because the more time you spend distracted, the less time you spend building your own life. Here's the cruel irony: the more you procrastinate, the more guilt you experience. The more guilt you feel, the more you seek distraction to relieve that guilt. This isn't coincidental, it's a vicious cycle. You procrastinate, feel bad about it, seek comfort in easy social media dopamine, and end up procrastinating even more. Look around you. Do you think you're alone in this trap? Absolutely not. We live in a world where everyone is constantly information overloaded yet incredibly unproductive. We've never been busier, yet we've never accomplished so little. Why? Because the system functions exactly this way. A world of distracted, anxious, directionless people is easily controlled. Procrastination isn't just a personal problem, it's a social epidemic. Here's the scariest part: if you don't control your own mind, someone else will do it for you. Now that you understand why you procrastinate and how your brain and society work against you, the crucial question emerges: how do you break this cycle? If you're expecting a miracle solution, forget it. Overcoming procrastination isn't about finding motivation, it's about reprogramming your mind. You need to create new mental patterns and replace destructive habits with strategies that force your brain to act even when unwilling. This requires effort, resilience, and confronting discomfort directly. If you're ready, Here are powerful techniques based on psychology and brain function to finally destroy procrastination. Your mind will always try convincing you to delay anything uncomfortable, but there's a simple trick to fool this automatic programming, the 5-second rule, created by Mel Robbins. The method: as soon as you notice hesitation to start a task, count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and immediately begin. Why does it work? The limbic system acts quickly to avoid discomfort, but the prefrontal cortex needs just a few seconds of initiative to take control. If you give your mind time to think, you'll procrastinate. But if you act before the limbic system engages, you break the postponement pattern. Your brain despises long, tedious tasks but loves quick rewards. The Pomodoro technique exploits this by transforming work into small challenges. The method is simple: work for 25 minutes without interruptions, then take a 5-minute break. Repeat the cycle. After 4 cycles, take a longer 15 to 30-minute break. The secret? You trick your brain. Working for hours seems overwhelming, but 25 minutes. Anyone can manage that. What happens? You start, enter flow state, and before you know it, you've accomplished much more than imagined. Ever notice how a movie or series interrupted during a tense moment sticks in your mind? This occurs due to the Zeigarnik effect, a psychological phenomenon making the brain obsessed with unfinished tasks. Use this against procrastination. The trick: start your task and stop in the middle. If you have text to write, write 1 sentence and stop. If you need to study, open the book, read 1 paragraph, and stop. Your brain will feel bothered by not finishing and will want to return to complete the task. This destroys the "I need to finish everything at once" mentality that often leads to procrastination. In reality, the hardest part isn't continuing, it's starting. #4. Action-based identity: you are what you do. Stop trying to be disciplined. Stop trying to be productive. Start acting as if you already are that person. Procrastination happens because you see yourself as someone who procrastinates. If you believe deep down, "I am lazy" or "I never finish anything," your brain will find ways to confirm that identity. Instead, start saying, "I am a person who takes action regardless of motivation." Don't think about motivation. Don't think about results. Act as if you are that person right now. Because identity doesn't precede action, action creates identity. These strategies work because they attack procrastination psychologically, targeting the root problem. But there's an important detail: knowing this is useless if you don't apply it. Now you know the truth. Procrastination isn't laziness, lack of discipline, or just a bad habit. It's a reflection of fear, self-sabotage, and how the modern world has hijacked your attention. But knowing this isn't enough. If it were just about information, no one would procrastinate. The problem isn't what you know, it's what you do with that knowledge. This is where the difficult part begins. You have a choice. You can leave this discussion, agree with everything presented, find it interesting, and continue exactly as you are. Continue stuck in the same postponement cycle, seeking more content, more tips, more explanations, while your life remains stagnant. You can keep deceiving yourself, claiming you'll start tomorrow, while days, weeks, and years pass, and when you realize it, it will be too late. Or you can make a decision now, a real decision that changes everything. Because ultimately, there are only 2 types of people: those who do and those who watch their lives pass by. The choice is yours. Will you continue being a passenger in your own life, or will you finally take control? The strategies exist. The knowledge is available. The only question remaining is, what will you do with it? Your future self is counting on the decision you make right now. Don't let them down.